Hey guys, it's Greg. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be asking the question, do we really need 100-watt tube amps anymore? Now, I know what you're thinking.
But Greg, everybody knows that 100-watt tube amps are the biggest, most brutal amps you can go booty, chug in my apartment all alone. No!
Well, shut up and don't be silly. That's exactly my point. You don't need a 100-watt tube amp
To play in your little apartment, man.
Okay, now before we start this and you start me, I'm just going to be the first person to say it. I love 100-watt tube amp heads. They are the biggest and best sounding amps out there. But I'm just simply saying, do we still need them? All right, so before you just let me get through all 10 reasons why you probably don't. Okay, reason number 1. They are way too loud. Now, I see this obsession in all the Facebook groups and in comments on videos.
Oh, I need a 100-watt head, bro. More headroom, more balls, more power.
100 watts. Is it 100 watts? Do you have a 100-watt head? Everyone is so into this idea of like a 100-watt head. Well, when was the last time you actually played one at a volume that you could even stand? They are way too loud for your house. They're way too loud for most venues. They're just way too loud for literally almost everything. So this obsession of, oh, I need 100 watts is just crazy. I keep seeing it pop up all the time. But, I mean, who's using it? You're not even turning it loud enough to really hear what the amp's doing anyways, you sillies. All right, reason number 2. They are way too expensive. Now, obviously, tube amps have been really expensive the last few years, especially with COVID and shortages and everything. But, I mean, the average price for a 100-watt tube amp has got to be somewhere now between $3,000 and $5,000. So all these people are like, oh, I gotta get 100 watts. It's like, why? I mean, you can buy 3 25 or 2 50-watt heads or whatever and still have plenty of power and plenty of fullness and plenty of punch for what the price of a lot of these, even some of the one-channel 100-watt heads are, $4,000. Like, who is out there like, oh my God, it's such a great deal. I gotta burn 4K by going buying that. It makes absolutely no sense. Reason number 3. They are way too heavy and way too inconvenient for almost every single use. So, if you're lugging this back and forth to a studio, to a practice session, to a live gig, whatever it is, I mean, your back hurts every time. It always sucks. You're always bumping it into stuff. I mean, it's just totally unpractical in 99% of situations, unless you just have a recording studio or something and it's just going to sit there and you're never going to move it, which odds are, pretty small that's going to be your case. It just makes no sense to have this giant, 100-watt, 100-pound head. It just makes no sense in 2022. So why are we always harping on, oh, we gotta have the 100 watts. Oh, it's so brutal. It's totally unpractical. Reason number 4. So venues have better and better PAs, and they want quieter and quieter stages. Now, some gigs like I played are casino gigs. They don't even want any stage volume at all. So, I mean, there's casino gigs, there's church gigs, there's, corporate gigs. There's all kinds of gigs out there where they don't want any stage volume. If you're blasting 100 watts out of there, you're going to drive everybody crazy. You won't even be able to play that gig. So that's another thing where it just doesn't make any sense. It's not the 80s anymore. We needed 100 watts back then because the PAs were so, not powerful and so limited. Now PAs are more powerful than ever. We don't have to rely on just the amp for all of the tone and all of the volume and everything, especially the volume part. We can get a great tone at a low volume. So again, why do we really need this? Reason number 5. Now, so much of your tone comes from when you actually turn the tube amp up. So, I mean, most of you guys out there have it. You've never even heard the real tone of your amp. You've never turned it even halfway loud enough to hear how it really sounds, to hear the power amp actually saturate and get you that real breakup distortion that you want. So you think it sounds so great, but it's kind of like getting a Ferrari and then, using it to go 25 in your neighborhood. Why get the Ferrari if you can't take it up to speeds over 100 and actually see what it can do? It makes no sense to have a 100-watt head that you're just playing, in your bedroom at tiny little volumes, or, even at gigs where the sound man is telling you to turn down and down and down. You're never going to hear how the amp actually sounds. So again, why do you actually need it? Reason number 6. The only way to actually hear the amp is to buy a really high-end Ignice attenuator, because everyone knows cheap attenuators really suck your tone and don't sound good. So, it's kind of crazy. It's like buying a Ferrari and then buying a really expensive, garage to store it in or something to go with it. It doesn't make any sense. You spent $4,000 on your 100-watt tube amp. Now you're gonna spend another $1,000 on an attenuator just to hear it and go, oh, it sounds so good when I chug in my apartment. Makes absolutely no sense. You could have bought 6 different heads that were 25 watts, 50 watts, something like that, and actually had a bunch of different tones rather than one tone. You had to attenuate to a tiny little volume just to be able to say, oh yeah, it sounds pretty big. It doesn't sound big. You're attenuating, so it does not sound big. It makes, again, absolutely no sense, you dummies. Number 7, and one of the dumbest ones I see all the time. All the people that are saying this the most often in Facebook groups or YouTube comments or whatever the case is, it's gotta sound so big. All these guys post clips. They're playing in an apartment. They're playing in a tiny little house. They're playing in a bedroom. They're playing in a basement. Who cares? It doesn't matter how big it sounds. It could sound so big that it would wake up Godzilla. It doesn't matter if only you can hear it in a tiny little space. You're not on a stage. You don't need, a huge sound to fill an arena or something. You're in your freaking one little bedroom apartment. So what does it matter if it sounds really big or small or somewhere in between? The only person that's hearing it is you dummy. Reason number 8. And my personal favorite reason. Now, unless you have a world tour coming up, a world arena tour opening for Metallica or Iron Maiden or something, which you don't, that'd be the only time you actually need that kind of volume, power, headroom, punch when you're playing live. You don't have any of that coming up. So again, why do you need it? If you're going to go on a major world arena tour, I would understand it sort of then. But you don't. All you guys obsessing over this stuff aren't even in bands for the most part. Or again, you're chugging alone in your basement. So, unless you get that call and Metallica says, hey, you want to open for us? Then you can go buy the 100-watt head. But in the meantime, it makes no sense. Reason 9. The biggest problem I see with this, other than the things I've mentioned, is it's not even really so much a tone thing for a lot of these guys. It's just this weird bragging thing. It's kind of like this obsession with everyone wants to own a Les Paul as like a bragging right or something. It's the same thing with this. A lot of you guys don't need 100 watts. You don't need 100 watts, but it's this weird culty like, oh, you got 100 watts? I have 100 watts. Who cares? What does it matter? It's like saying I have a Ferrari, you have a Ferrari too, but again, we only take it out in our neighborhood and go 20 miles an hour. What does it matter if you both do that and you both don't actually use it? Again, it's this stupid bragging culture that we have, and everyone's trying to one-up each other or scratch each other's backs on Facebook forums. It totally makes no sense, and you're all congratulating yourselves on just spending too much money for something you're not even really using. Number 10, and the biggest of all, your tone and your playing will not magically improve because you bought such and so 100-watt head, EVH Stealth 100-watt head, blah, 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 blah. All you guys are waiting for this magical piece of gear to make you magically better. You're not going to wake up the next day after you bought a 100-watt head and all of a sudden you have Van Halen skills. You still have to practice, dummies. So again, relying on just a magical amp to do it for you as a magical unicorn, it's never going to happen. If it was that easy, everybody just would have bought 100-watt heads and we'd all be rock stars. But it's not that easy, and that's not the case, you dummies. Alright guys, so that'll do it for this video. Now what do you think? Do you agree with me here, or are you
Me, every single thing you said is wrong.
Let me know in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe, and I will summon you for the next video. Don't mind the boofing from my dog or the ghost of the ukulele player who lives in the wall. We're just focusing on me and my voice. You're welcome. Nope.